Right now, there are more brand new, unsold SUVs sitting on American dealer lots than at any point in the last decade. Not slightly more, dramatically more. We're talking about vehicles with 200, 300, even 600 days of inventory piled up in lots from California to Georgia, price stickers, fading in the sun, nobody buying them. And the manufacturers responsible? They're still running the same ads, still holding the same press conferences, still pretending the problem is the economy and not the garbage they decided to build and call premium. I've been watching this market for over 20 years. I know what a correction looks like. This isn't a correction. This is a reckoning, and 8 specific vehicles are sitting at the dead center of it. Each one represents a different flavor of corporate failure, bad engineering, worse pricing, safety recalls that should have stopped production but didn't, dealers stuck holding the bag on inventory the buying public has already passed judgment on. We're going through all 8. By the end, you'll know exactly why the American SUV market is buckling, and which vehicles to avoid completely, new or used. Start with a vehicle that turned a tariff problem into a customer problem without a single apology. The 2025-2026 Buick Envision, built on GM's E2XX front-wheel drive platform assembled in Yantai, China, was already fighting an identity crisis before the trade war made it worse. It's a mid-size crossover that sits in the no-man's land between mainstream and luxury without fully committing to either. That was manageable when the price was manageable. Then the US government applied a 45% auto import tariff to Chinese-built vehicles in 2025. GM had 2 choices: absorb the cost or pass it straight to the buyer. They didn't hesitate for a single second. They passed all of it, every dollar. The Envision sticker jumped by approximately $5,000 in under 12 months, pushing the starting price to around $43,000, with fully loaded trims pushing past $47,000. $47,000 for a Buick that drives like a Chevrolet Equinox in a Blazer. That's what GM is asking you to pay. The 5-liter turbocharged LSY engine, shared with multiple GM economy platforms, produces 163 horsepower in a crossover that weighs over 3,500 pounds. The 9-speed automatic transmission it's paired with was not calibrated for a vehicle carrying this much weight at this price point. And the result is a powertrain that feels perpetually breathless on highway on-ramps and embarrassingly ordinary at every traffic light. GM has announced that Envision production is moving to Kansas. That is not happening until 2028. Until then, every Envision on American soil carries that tariff and that price, and the market's response has been overwhelming. Over 13,600 units sitting unsold, with 256 days of supply. That's nearly 9 months of inventory that nobody wants. Before any Envision transaction, pull the transmission fluid at inspection. Speed in this platform runs hot in stop-and-go commuting. And dark, burnt-smelling fluid before 60,000 miles means the thermal load has already exceeded the service interval. The owner was never told to follow. The next vehicle is proof that pricing arrogance has a ceiling, and Stellantis just drove straight through it. The 2025-2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee L platform 3-row configuration arrived positioned as a near-luxury family hauler. Stellantis priced it accordingly, pushing average transaction prices to $50,000 and beyond. The problem is the Grand Cherokee L is not a near-luxury vehicle. It is a Jeep. It has a Jeep reliability ratings and Jeep dealership service experiences, which, if you've ever sat in a Stellantis service waiting room for 4 hours for a scheduled oil change, you understand is not a premium experience by any metric. The Uconnect 5 infotainment system, Qualcomm Snapdragon 8155 processor, is being overloaded by the simultaneous power demands of the panoramic roof, rear seat climate controls, and second screen displays Stellantis added to justify the premium price. Voltage regulation drops below stable operating threshold under peak electrical demand and the screen goes black mid-drive, spontaneously. Stellantis' response has been software patches that delay the symptom without touching the architecture, causing it at $50,000, competing against the Kia Telluride, Hyundai Palisade, and Toyota Highlander, all with better reliability reputations at lower prices. The Grand Cherokee L is asking you to pay more for less. Over 7,300 units sitting, 278 days of supply. Stellantis is running out of runway. Here's where the list stops being about price mistakes and starts being about engineering ones. The 2024-2026 Jeep Wrangler 2-door, JL platform, JL2 body, should be the most bulletproof cell in the Jeep lineup. The Wrangler has tribal loyalty so deep that some buyers would purchase one on principle alone. But Stellantis has managed to erode even that. The 2-door Wrangler has become a niche product in a market that overwhelmingly wants the 4-door Unlimited. More seats, more cargo room, more practical for the families and suburban adventurers who make up the actual Wrangler buying demographic. Rather than accepting the 2-door's diminished role and pricing it accordingly, Stellantis pushed a Willys trim 2-door past $51,000. That's the price of a fully loaded mid-sized truck from a manufacturer whose name people actually trust. The 2.0-liter turbocharged GM ET4 engine in 2026 units has logged check engine lights and powertrain fault codes appearing in under 1,000 miles from new. The failure pattern points to the oil pump relief valve opening too early under cold, high-viscosity oil conditions, a calibration decision that momentarily starves the timing chain tensioners of hydraulic pressure during cold start events if the driver applies throttle before the oil has warmed. Repeated chain slap events accelerate tensioner wear in a sequence that should be impossible on a vehicle with under 5,000 miles. Over 9,000 two-door Wranglers on lots. 373 days of supply. That's not a slowdown. That's a stoppage from a Jeep that forgot what it was supposed to be, to an electric SUV that forgot what customers actually want. The 2023-2026 Chevrolet Blazer EV, Ultium BV3 platform, is the most complete misreading of an automotive market I've witnessed in my career. GM looked at the EV boom, looked at Tesla's success, and decided the winning move was to rip out Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, the two features that EV buyers consistently rank as table stakes requirements, and replace them with a proprietary Google-based system that owners have publicly and repeatedly called the worst in-vehicle software they've ever used. The failures are documented and severe. In real-world summer driving, the system's processing pipeline, undersized for the thermal load the Blazer EV generates, misallocates memory and drops the rear camera feed, replacing it with a solid blue screen. Consistently, in warm weather. Under the exact conditions most American drivers use this vehicle. In some documented cases, the vehicle fails to fully power down after the driver exits, pulling a ghost current load from the battery pack that drains range overnight. Then there's the parking brake wiring harness recall. The harness routes through an undercarriage section where road moisture concentrate triggers galvanic corrosion at the connector terminals. The result is binary. The parking brake fires without driver input at low speed, or refuses to engage when you need it. Same harness, both outcomes dangerous. GM issued a recall. The root protection specification that allowed the corrosion hasn't changed. 3,100 units sitting, 329 days of supply. The market gave the Blazer EV one chance. It didn't take it. The next vehicle on this list didn't just disappoint its buyers, it offended them. The 2025-2026 Dodge Charger Daytona large platform represents Stellantis' attempt to kill two nameplates and resurrect them as one, targeting both muscle car purists and EV converts simultaneously. The execution satisfies neither. On the gas side, the 3.0-liter Hurricane twin-turbo inline-6 replaces the Hemi V8 that made the Charger a legend. The Hurricane makes 550 horsepower in Scat Pack tune. The numbers aren't the problem, the soul is. The Hemi V8 didn't just make power, it made an experience. It vibrated the seat. It sounded like something. People built their automotive identity around that sound. The Hurricane is technically faster and sounds like a premium appliance. Dodge's core buyers didn't want an appliance. They wanted their V8 back. The base RT 6-pack trim starts at nearly $52,000, $15,000 more than the previous generation's entry point. Dodge's core buyers weren't buying $52,000 cars. They were buying $37,000 Chargers with V8s and driving them into the ground with a grin. That product no longer exists. What replaced it costs more, sounds different, and hasn't generated a fraction of the cultural heat. Over 7,700 units on lots, 309 days of supply. Dodge built its brand on accessible muscle. Then it traded that brand for a platform strategy and a price hike. And the people who bought a Charger every 3 years are buying something else now. 2 vehicles left before we get to the worst pair on this list. This next one should come with a financial warning label stapled to the door glass, the 2025-2026 Mitsubishi Outlander. CMF-CD platform, revised for 2026 with a 1.5-liter turbocharged inline-4, displacing an engine nearly 40% smaller than the outgoing 2.5-liter naturally aspirated unit, is the clearest example on this entire list of a fuel economy compliance decision actively harming the product. 174 horsepower, 3,700 pounds. The math does not work. Every competitor in this segment, the RAV4, the CR-V, the Tucson, makes more power from comparable or smaller displacement because they prioritize driver confidence alongside efficiency. Mitsubishi prioritized a number on a government test sheet. That 1.5-liter turbocharger runs near maximum boost every time the driver merges at highway speed, passes on a 2-lane road, or loads the vehicle with passengers. The thermal and mechanical duty cycle on a small displacement turbo under sustained high boost conditions is brutally accelerated compared to a larger naturally aspirated unit making equivalent power at lower internal stress. The turbocharger wear curve in real-world American driving is not what Mitsubishi's validation data captured, because validation testing doesn't account for American driving behavior, American summer heat, or American highway speeds. The third row is a documented fiction. 27 inches of knee clearance for adult passengers in the rearmost position. The average American adult male needs 38 inches of knee clearance for comfort. Mitsubishi is marketing a 5-passenger vehicle with 2 child accommodation positions as a 7-seat family SUV. Dealer markups have pushed transaction prices toward $45,000 for a crossover that can't carry its own rated passenger count and comfort. Over 7,600 units on lots, 372 days of supply. And here are the two that anchor this entire collapse. The 2025-2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee Standard, Giorgio-derived large platform, 2-row configuration, is the single largest raw inventory stockpile of any vehicle in the American SUV market right now. Over 22,500 units. Sitting, waiting, representing an average transaction value of $47,000 each. Do that math. That is over $1 billion of Jeep product that American consumers have collectively decided is not worth buying at current prices. The same Uconnect 5-voltage regulation failures that plagued the Grand Cherokee L live in this vehicle. Identical architecture, identical electrical bus overload, identical spontaneous screen blackouts. Stellantis applied the same software patch, the patch that treats the symptom while the root cause runs untouched underneath it. Add the dealer addendum fees stacking thousands onto an already inflated sticker, the service wait times Jeep dealerships have normalized, and the Korean and Japanese competitors undercutting the price while outscoring it on every reliability metric. And you have a vehicle that has lost its reason to exist at what it currently costs. A full year of supply, 22,500 units, $1 billion of unwanted Jeep product. That is the market speaking at full volume. The final vehicle on this list has the worst inventory numbers in the American market. And it's not close. The 2025-26 Ford Mustang Mach-E GE Tuba platform posted a 60% year-over-year decline in Q1 of 2026, 548 days of market day supply. The federal tax credit is gone. Depreciation is catastrophic, 60% of original value lost over 5 years. Which means low-mileage used Mach-E's are selling in the low 20,000s today, making the $40,000 new sticker impossible to justify. Active recalls on the headlight module driver circuit are still clearing service backlogs. A failure that turns off your low beams at highway speed with 0 dashboard warning. Ford has no compelling answer for why a rational buyer purchases new. Their dealers know it. Their executives know it. And now you do too. 8 vehicles, 8 different failure modes, but one identical underlying cause. Corporations that looked at a market full of loyal, trusting buyers and made the calculated decision that those buyers had nowhere else to go. They were wrong. The inventory numbers prove it. The days of supply figures prove it. And the buyers who walked past these vehicles on dealer lots and chose something else proved it loudest of all. Scubber to this channel right now, because the next video covers who's building SUVs that Americans are actually buying. And the gap between those two lists is the most important story in the American auto market right now.